This is the Muntos webinar, 5 cheat codes for Facebook ads. We appreciate your time and commitment and hope that we can make this both engaging as well as educational for you. I have the pleasure of co-hosting with John Hayden. John is the author of Facebook Marketing for Dummies and can be reached online on Twitter at John Hayden as well as at johnhayden.com. And my name is Marcus Whitney. I am the co-founder and CTO of Moontoast, and I can be reached on Twitter at Marcus Whitney. And you can find us online at moontoast.com and then on all your different social channels also as Moontoast. So without any further ado, I think we'll hop right in, and I'll hand this over to John to walk through what our agenda is going to be for the day, and at the end we'll make sure that we leave plenty of time for questions. If you have questions, and you can kind of drop them on the Twitter feed at any time, you don't have to kind of hold them towards the end. We will be using the hashtag Facebook ad tips, which you see in the lower left-hand corner of the deck. So please, at any time on Twitter, submit those questions, and we'll make sure that when we get to the Q&A portion of the webinar, that we get those answered for you. So without any further ado, John, would you please take it over?
Thank you, Marcus. So welcome, everybody. And the agenda here is we're going to talk about 5 ways that you can get more out of Facebook ads, some unconventional ways of using the Facebook ad tool to understand your customers. And but we're going to start off with insights, using Facebook Insights to target the ads, how to game the news feed with promoted posts. So Facebook goes through a lot of changes in the news feed. And I'm going to give you 2 tips specifically about promoted posts to get more from them. And we'll talk about how to target your customers with Facebook ads. So when I say your customers, I mean your actual customers, the people who've already bought from you. We'll talk about using Facebook Graph to look at lateral targets. That's a little bit more of an advanced topic. And using Facebook ads to do customer research, doing research on your customers. And then Marcus is going to jump in and talk about rich media, social rich media. And then I'll talk about salt and pepper. I'm not going to tell you what that is right now. And then at the end, after the slides, there's a Facebook ad cheat sheet. And Marcus mentioned that we will be doing Q&A on Twitter. So if you have a question at any time during the webinar, go to Twitter, post it, but make sure you use this hashtag, okay? Facebook ad tips. Facebook ad tips. Grab a pad and a pen right now, because I might mention a few resources along the way. You're going to want to jot those down, and I don't want you to kick yourself saying, geez, I wish I had a pen, I wish I had a piece of paper. So do that right now, okay? So we're going to just jump right in. So just to set a level playing field, right, to set a level playing field for everyone, let's talk about Facebook ads, why they matter, and how are they different from other type of online ads. The first is that it's huge, okay? I mean, 1.2 billion active users, but more importantly, there are most of Facebook users are actually using mobile, right? So they access Facebook through an iPad on the browser and so forth. But mobile's really critical, because what that means is that now people are not just on this site when they have a browser or when they're sitting at a desk, but they are on Facebook when they are in the bathroom, in the line at the bank. In their car, hopefully not too much driving the car. But the point is that people who are using Facebook, it's a very consistent use, and there's a tremendous utility. People are really on Facebook all the time. This is unlike Twitter, unlike Pinterest, so it's very unique in that respect. Now, the other thing that makes Facebook powerful is that the ad itself is content for the most part. Okay, so most quote-unquote ads, and I'm using air quotes, that you see on Facebook, they show up in the news feed. Those are the most effective type of ads in terms of conversion and whatever goals you have for your ads. Typically, the news feed ads are a little bit more effective than the sidebar ads. And if you notice, it's the content, okay? That's really what the ad is. So from a user's perspective, it's not really an ad. I mean, you can see sponsored down in the lower right-hand corner, but it's light gray. You really can't see it. But for all intents and purposes, users kind of see this as content. It's definitely not a sales pitch, definitely not an ad. Okay. The other thing is that people trust recommendations way more from their friends, recommendations from their friends, way more than they trust what a brand says. And marketers have known about this for a very long time. There's research from Forrester, research that came out recently found that 70% of consumers trust what their friends say about a brand. Those same people trust that those brands that their friends are talking about, they trust those brands about 10% of the time, right? This is just human nature, right? If a company is trying to sell you something, you take that with a grain of salt. If your friend says it, it has a lot more weight, right? So that's another critical thing. The other powerful piece of Facebook ads is that you can really target extremely specifically, I guess. Okay, you can drill down into specific networks within, say, your fan base, of your Facebook page fans, or even through your email list, a subset of your email list. You could target ads at those people, and I'll discuss that a little bit later on. Um, Here's just a screenshot of some of the targeting options. So there are precise interests that you can use, various keywords. You can even target the fans of a competing Facebook page. This is just, again, just a general screenshot of some of the targeting options. These are just some of the targeting options. There are so many, and Facebook keeps coming up with more and more options for marketers and advertisers. And then finally, the critical thing between Facebook and Google is that Google is really an ad where people are searching for something now. They need something now. They need information now. Facebook, you're targeting people based on their overall preferences, what they like. It's not so much tied to time, like a Google ad is really what people are looking for right now. I need this now. So the context of the ad is going to be very different. Okay, Google ads are going to be trying to speak directly to that need that people have right now, whereas Facebook is going to speak more to the preference, the likes and the preferences that people have. Okay, and we can skip that one. Okay, so let's get into the cheat codes now. All right, the first one is that, well, my first tip is don't just pull targets out of your butt. I've seen this happen time and time again. People will say, well, they look at the targeting options in Facebook and they say, our people, they're women and they live in Boston and they're young, and that's it. Okay? Don't do that because you will waste money. You'll waste money. What you want to do is you want to use Facebook Insights. Okay? Now your Facebook page will show you this data. All right? It will show you this data. So let's say that you're taking out a Facebook ad and you want to have people, the ad is actually let's say it's a post ad. You're promoting a post on your page and you're targeting that post to specific people, and you want to ask yourself, you're asking yourself this question: who is most likely to engage with this content? Who's most likely to like, comment, and share this update? That's really what you want. You don't care about reach. You care about people being engaged with the ad, right? So the best place to get this information is Insights. It's going to show you right here under your demographic information. If you look at the People's tab and then you drill down into People Engaged, in this example we're seeing women. We're going to target this ad at women between the ages of 35 and 64 in these specific locations, right? The more specific you can get with your Facebook ads, the less expensive they're going to be, all right? Because and the higher your conversion rate is going to be, just as a general idea. If you want to target an ad to get more fans, if that's the type of ad you want to take out, then you're going to look at the Fans tab, your fans. You want to look at the demographics there. Start there. A post ad, a page update that you're pushing out through Facebook ads, you want to look at people engaged. And the reason why is because the reason why you want to follow this, it's pretty common. I mean, it's basic, reason and common sense here. What we're really saying is, based on the historical information, these are the people who are most likely to take the action that we're trying to ask them to take. They're going to like our page. Great. Let's look at those demographics. People are going to like, comment, and share our ad. Let's look at these demographics under people engaged. Okay, so that's pretty straightforward. This is a tip I would call, it's not even low-hanging fruit. Excuse me. It's not even low-hanging fruit. This is fruit that's laying on the ground. You just pick it up. This information is available, and so few people use it. Now here's a pro tip from Marcus. Marcus?
So sorry, my mute
Oh,
button was a little sticky.
oh,
Yeah, so absolutely using Insights is a great. First of all, Facebook Insights is an extremely powerful tool to understand how your community is engaging with your page, your brand page on Facebook. You can use it to kind of understand how your content is currently resonating from a demographic perspective. And one of the great things about Insights is it can also help you to define what your objectives are going to be. So in the event that you are trying to reach people who currently like your page, but then drive them to engage with you at a deeper level, at a brand direct level, and collect information for them, social rich media is a great tool to use for that. So you can combine some of the insights targeting tactics that John just mentioned, and then target that fan base, the ones who are going to be most highly likely to engage with you, and drive them into a social rich media experience, much like we're demonstrating here with this Toyota rich media unit, which will give them an opportunity to win in a sweepstakes or vote on a particular feature of a product, etc., to collect that next level of information. And you can then, and we'll even talk later on in another one of the cheat codes about how you use this information to improve your targeting in further campaigns.
I mean, I love Insights. I don't think there's any other social media platform that has the depth of information that you can get about your community. It's absolutely incredible, and it's free. It's right there, and so I feel like a lot of people just don't use it enough. Now, the second cheat code is promoted posts. Okay, using promoted posts to game the news feed. And if you've been reading any blogs about Facebook, they're really putting the squeeze on small businesses and really any business. They're basically, not creating as much reach as people would like in their content. And obviously, a lot of brands have to learn how to publish better content and so forth. So a lot of issues in that. But there are ways to use promoted posts to actually get more of the result that you want. Now, what's the difference first, though, between a Facebook ad and a promoted post? Briefly, promoted posts are super cheap. You can promote these on your page under any Facebook update. You just click boost. Okay. Some people will see boost. Sometimes it says promoted. It depends upon the country. Um, and Facebook ads are a little bit more expensive. Promoted posts are super cheap. They're quick to use. Also, you can get much more exposure for your posts that are performing well. That's what you would use promoted posts for. And then the downside with Facebook ads is that it's not for the plumber or the barber. And I'm not slighting any plumbers or barbers that happen to be on the webinar right now. What I'm saying is that generally speaking, Facebook ads, you do have to have a little bit of knowledge and time on your hands to use ads and target them correctly. Promoted posts, it's one or two mouse clicks, or you can even do it on your iPhone. You open up the Pages Manager app, and you can promote on any post you want. This is perfect for the small business person that's running to and fro from, let's say the plumber. They're running, and they want to promote something. They click promote, and they're done. Okay, very, very easy to use. That's what I like about them. There are ways to waste a lot of money with promoted posts, and I've seen this happen time and time again. But let's talk about this newsfeed algorithm first, okay? Because with promoted posts, what you're doing is you're promoting your content so that it has further reach in the newsfeed. And as I said before, Facebook is really tweaking the newsfeed and the newsfeed algorithm so that your updates are essentially being seen less and less. This is a general statement, okay? But there are four factors that influence whether a person, a Facebook fan, is going to see your content or not, right? The relationship between the fan and the update, that's the first thing. Facebook calls this affinity, and it essentially means, let's say that I like, comment on, and share content from Red Bull, right? So say I love their updates, they're really funny, whatever it might be, and I interact with that page. Facebook assumes, rightly so, that I like the brand and that I like what they have to say. So Facebook's algorithm will say, great, well, John has demonstrated his affinity. Let's keep pushing content into his newsfeed. Okay. The second is the how fans talk about that update, right? Facebook calls this weight, and this is really the content itself. How many likes, comments, and shares has this specific update received? Great, it's received a lot compared to other updates on the page. Let's give this a little bit more airtime in the newsfeed. And then the third factor is how recently the update was published. And if you read any articles on Facebook marketing and publishing content on Facebook effectively, you always read that there is a right time to publish and there's a wrong time to publish. The right time to publish updates on Facebook is when your Facebook fans are actually there. They're looking at the news feed. That's the best time to publish. If you publish at 2 in the morning, it's buried. No one will ever see it. The fourth factor here, which is a big one, it's how many negative comments an update has received. And this last, well, I'll get into it a little bit more, but this is a problem with some brands and organizations and small businesses. When they use promoted posts, they tend to get a little higher rate of negative comments, people marking the update as spam, it's uninvited, and so forth. Right? So what do you do to deal with this? Now, Facebook wants you to promote, they refer to it as your important posts. We want you to promote your important posts. The problem with that, though, and we have to think about the world of Facebook, which is friends first. People are there on Facebook for their friends 100% of the time. They rarely think about any business at all. They rarely think about interacting with brands. They're only there for friends. Okay? So what's important to them is not going to be what's important to you. So you have to take that into consideration. So when you do a promoted post, if you're pushing it out to your fans, that's one thing. But if you push it out to friends of fans, which is a default setting in promoted posts, you could run into some trouble, and I'll talk about how to deal with that. So the name of the game on Facebook, by the way, is likes, comments, and shares. That's it. That's what you want on Facebook. You want more likes, more comments, and more shares. Reach doesn't really matter that much. All right? Everybody talks about reach. We want more reach for our posts. We want more reach. Well, reach you really can't depend on. Facebook will change reach all the time. The algorithm gets tweaked and so forth. Reach will be up and down. There'll be so many factors. You can't depend on reach at all. Okay? What you can work on is your content, who's seeing it, how they're interacting with it, how good it is, how effective it is, and that comes down to likes, comments, and shares. The reason why this matters is because when people like, comment, and share your content, obviously their friends are going to see that. That's word of mouth. Facebook is a word of mouth machine. That's really what it is at its most basic level. Okay, so given the idea that you're only paying for reach, you could potentially waste a lot of money because you might find a quote-unquote important update that you think is important. So you say, great, well, let's dump a whole bunch of money on this. And you could spend a lot of money. I mean, look at this right here. $1,500 on one little post. You could waste a lot of money. Okay? So the trick here is to, and by the way, if you promote bad content, you're just going to get more of the same. So if you have an update on your page that hasn't received any likes, comments, or shares, and it's been sitting there for a few hours, but you think it's important, if you promote it, you're going to get more of the same. You're going to get more crickets. Okay? So the trick here is to promote only the best stuff. Promote only the posts that have been vetted by your fans. They've already liked it, commented on it, and shared it. Okay? When you do that, and by the way, you can find your best post. If you go into Facebook Insights, rank your updates by engagement rate. Okay, so engagement rate is what you might call the magic number, and it really ranks your content from high to low. In this case, it's not ranked from high to low, but engagement rate, the higher the percent is, that's really saying this is the best content. The higher the percent is, the higher the quality of that content is. And for those of you who are just starting out using Insights or Facebook ads, engagement rate is a percent, obviously, and it's really the number of people that saw an update, which is reach, the number of people that saw that update who actually liked, commented on it, or shared it. And that's what you want. So The higher the percent, the better that content is. Engagement rate generally won't change. If you promote any of these posts, that percent will generally stay the same. Okay, it's a safe bet. Promoted posts, you may even feel like promoted posts are like I'm going to Las Vegas and I'm just throwing money on this gambling table. Like, I don't know what's going to happen. But if you have information ahead of time that says, hey, this is good content, people are highly likely to like, comment, and share on it, you'll probably throw your money on that bet. I would. I mean, that makes sense, right? So what this does is when you promote good content, it leads to more newsfeed exposure in the long run. And the reason why is because when people like, comment on, and share your content, they are essentially telling Facebook, hey, I like what this brand has to say. Facebook says, great, let's keep giving you content. So that's, in a way, that's how you're gaming the news feed. You're pushing out only the best content to people, giving that more exposure, more engagement, and then those people who engage, they're gonna be more likely to see your content in the future. Okay. Now the other trick here with promoted posts is only promote posts to fans. Okay, this is a recommendation. I'm not saying it's a rule, but I'm recommending that you only promote posts to fans. And the reason why is because let's say you have 1,000 fans on your Facebook page. Chances are less than 100 are actually seeing your content. That's a fact. Okay, so you have a problem right there. And actually, most Facebook marketers have a problem exactly like that. Wow, geez, most of our fans are seeing our stuff. Start there first. If you go to Friends of Fans, which is a default setting with promoted posts, you do increase the likelihood that people will mark your content as spams. Okay. Now, why is that? Let's say you're a friend of Joe. Joe likes the Kleenex Facebook page, and Joe happens to interact with a lot of their content, and Kleenex decides, I'm going to do a promoted post. All of a sudden, you see a Kleenex post in your news feed. What is this? This is uninvited. The only thing I'm guilty of is being a friend of Joe. Joe's a fan of the page, but that's it. That's the only thing I'm guilty of. So Facebook users are more likely to mark these type of posts in their newsfeed that are clearly uninvited. And if you think about your own behavior on Facebook, I guarantee you there have been a few incidents where you see an update, a promoted post in your newsfeed, and you say to yourself, why am I seeing this? I don't even know who this brand is. I have no idea. So what you want to do is you want to promote to fans. Focus on that first, okay? And the quick and dirty way, this is a quick and dirty way to take care of this problem. Once you promote a post, you go to this URL, the URL at the bottom of the slide, click on that, you drill down into your promoted post, and what you'll see is that Facebook actually creates 3 different ad units for the ad itself. So a promoted post really is 3 separate ads. That's what it is behind the scenes. You have one ad being pushed out to fans of your page, one ad being pushed out to friends of people who happen to interact with that update, which would be the sponsored stories ad. And then the middle one here is friends of fans. That one you can easily just click on this green arrow, select delete, and then you're all set. There's a much better way to do this in the Power Editor, but again, promoted posts to begin with are for people that are just busy. At the very least, delete the post that goes out to friends of fans. Okay. Now, here's a tip from Marcus then.
Thanks,
Take it away,
John. So,
Marcus.
yep. So, one of the great things that John kind of covered, several times over is that promoted posts can be great for sharing very, very engaging content. And there's kind of 2 different approaches to that. So one is you can use it from your perspective, kind of looking back. So as you're promoting several posts a day, you can look at the ones that are performing very well, and then you can go forth and promote those because you know that because of the engagement that they get, adding additional reach should provide additional lift because it's already a very, very engaging post. But another model, which could be proactive and still like a good, affordable approach to using promoted posts with social rich media, is if you had content that was very, very successful on potentially another channel. So in this example, we're showing that this particular brand had some Vine videos, and over the course of, let's say, 20 different videos, they found the 5 that were the most engaging. You can take those 5, package them into a social rich media unit like this gallery we have here, and then promote that on your Facebook channel, knowing that these were 5 of the best Vine videos that you had maybe in the last month, and you can even position it that way in the post. A really good use of promoted posts to push engaging content that you may not have already released on the Facebook channel, but you know is going to be welcome. And because it's going to be a gallery, it's going to be something that's going to drive a lot of engagement, and people will share out to their friends.
Right, okay. Now, I think I had another tip here. It's not showing up on the slide for some reason, but in terms of promoted post, if you're looking for really good content to promote, it's okay to go back 6 months, 3 to 6 months, go in your Facebook Insights and look at stuff that's performed really well. And why not promote that now? You can do that now. And if it's, and what's great about photos, actually, posting photos on Facebook is that you can edit the description. So let's say you posted something last year, it had to do with Mother's Day, but the content is kind of relevant for, say, Christmas. Okay, you can simply go there, edit the description a little bit, and then use it as a promoted post right now. Okay, so let's talk about targeting your customers. So I mentioned that at the very beginning of the webinar, and this is a little bit more of an advanced feature, but a lot of people are so surprised that this even exists. They're just so amazed that this even exists. So a custom audience, Facebook has a utility called the Power Editor, and there's a feature in it called Custom Audiences, and basically a custom audience is a Facebook ad feature that allows you to target your customers, basically anyone that you have on a list with an email address, SMS, or Facebook ID. Okay, Facebook ID is rare. Not many people have a huge Excel list of Facebook IDs unless they are an app developer. Okay. And by the way, in the slides, there's a link here. So you click on custom audiences, there's more information on that and the definition. But the way it works is that you go into the Facebook Power Editor and you can upload an email list. It's a simple single column Excel spreadsheet. Facebook does not need any other information. And for our example, I'm talking about emails only. Okay, but again, you can use text message numbers and all that stuff. So when you upload this, you will go back into the ad manager, the Facebook self-serve ad tool, and you'll see this field called audience. And then you can simply select the email list that you've uploaded. And you could upload many, many different custom audiences. So what I typically recommend to my clients, and again, I work with nonprofits, but I will recommend your hardcore donors, people that made a donation in the past year, people that have volunteered in the past year, lapsed donors, people that haven't donated in, say, over a year, and so forth. Okay, people that attended this event. I mean, you can really segment out your email list if you're smart about it and you think about what kind of content and what kind of strategy you're going to be using on Facebook. But once you select this, you'll see how many Facebook users are associated with that email list. So in this example, we see 3,200 people. This may have been an email list that had 5,000 emails on it, but Facebook is able to only match 3,200 of these people. All this is saying is that, these are emails that are actually associated with 3,200 different Facebook profiles. That's really all this is saying. Okay. Now, these are just some examples of what you can do. So you can reach former customers. You can present different page content based on different levels, donor levels. In my example with the nonprofits, you can get your top customers talking about you more. First-time text messaging people that just join your text message list, your SMS list, you can get them to engage with their page. It's a really great way to acquire fans. And there are a few examples here. You can look at these later on. You can also suppress messaging from specific customers. So let's say that you had, longtime customers buy a certain product or a service, and then you want to have a sale on that specific product or service that person already bought or those customers already bought. You may want to offer a special discount around Christmas. So it might be a good idea to suppress those customers from seeing that ad on Facebook. And that's just a few things you could do with this with these custom audiences. Here's a video tutorial, by the way. So in the slides, you just click on the link. There's a video tutorial on how to set up custom audiences and use it. It's really demonstrating this in the Power Editor, which is where you have to go to create these ads, and I'm sure Marcus will agree with me on this. The Power Editor is really ugly and really confusing. Originally, it was intended for agencies only, but Facebook is now letting really anybody use this Power Editor. So if you've never used it before, be patient with yourself, watch the video, pay attention, and then go back over and use the self-serve Facebook ad tool. Okay, and I walk you through the whole process in this one video. Okay, so Marcus, take it away.
Great. So I think one of the things that the custom audience capability that Facebook has introduced really brings is this parallel of the news feed to the inbox. Now you're using your own CRM data, your own email marketing data to be able to target and reach people with social experiences that are highly engaging directly in Facebook and on the news feed, and that's extremely powerful and a new paradigm. As John mentioned, you can also use it to both to exclude from a particular campaign, or you can even use it to find what's called a lookalike audience, and this would be people who have very, very similar interests or other types of traits to your existing audience, and this would be used for prospecting people who may be likely to engage with your brand. So one of the things that you can use social rich media for is to create a more engaging experience with your existing database that maybe would not be very natural to happen inside of the inbox, but might be a lot more natural to have happen inside of a Facebook social environment. So here's an example of a unit that drives a user through a voting conversion, and then to share that, and that vote may be around some content that demonstrates a strong affinity between the fan and the brand, and you have a lot of that insight because you've been building this database on your own. So these may be people who have flagged in your own system that they have an interest in a particular aspect of your brand. Maybe it's a certain product line, maybe it's a certain set of features, and so you can now use that information to create this segment, target them with an experience that's more social than kind of a direct response email would be, and then continue that relationship with them on all channels.
I love this example. I love this example. The reason why is because so many businesses and nonprofits, the problem they have is they have a huge email list, or maybe it's not so huge, but it's just not that active. Not a lot of people are opening, clicking, whatever. And this is a way to segment your email list. So through this approach right here, you can identify these are the people that are really engaged. You can identify and segment people for other offers or sales or whatever the next step is going to be after someone votes, right? So it's a brilliant example here. Now the fourth example here, the fourth cheat code, is letting graph search show you lateral targets. Okay, so let's define lateral targets first. As marketers, we normally think of targets, keywords and targets, as having to do with our business, which is natural because we're trying to run a business, right? So in this example, the National Wildlife Federation, they have some vertical targets, and let's just call these vertical targets, and they would be what we would expect: wildlife, conservation, environment, pandas, maybe families, Ranger Rick, that kind of thing. Okay, so these are interests that have to do with the organization and that obviously a lot of their supporters share. However, lateral interests are something that they don't necessarily have to do with the business or the nonprofit, but they are commonly shared among your fans, among your Facebook fans. So here we have like digital photography, ultimate warrior, downhill mountain biking, attachment parenting. These are some lateral targets that are prevalent in the National Wildlife Federation's fan base. And these are also precise interests that you can target in Facebook ads. So this opens you up to exposing your brand to a whole new set of people. You're not just pounding on the same targets over and over again: wildlife, conservation, environment. Just after a while, it's just like, oh God, you kind of reach a point of diminished returns. Lateral targets kind of opens up other opportunities. People that are interested in digital photography, but weren't necessarily aware of or connected to the National Wildlife Federation, and all of a sudden they're seeing this information about a photography contest that the organization might be having, right? Perfect example. So The way to do this is pretty simple. You go to Facebook, you have to opt into the graph search feature, and you can simply just type in, and I'm going to show you a few search strings, but this one is pages liked by women who like Habitat for Humanity. Okay, so these are women who like this organization. These are the other pages that they like. So now we can go and we can use some of the names of these pages to target ads at these people that they may have not had any exposure with, right? Here's another, and then you can narrow it down by page type. So here's one, interests liked by men. These are interests now. These are not pages. These are interests. So you can target pages. You could target interests, shared, common, and prevalent interests in pages that your fans have liked. Okay, and so again, you can use this info to target effective ads. And so in this example, we're going back to this page that says 365 things to do in the Twin Cities. We're taking that precise interest or page, and we're using it to target this ad, 365 things to do in Minneapolis. And now we can see on the right-hand side, we're targeting very specifically people who live in the U.S., obviously, people who live within 50 miles of Minneapolis, people who like this page and another page, and who are not already connected to our Facebook page. So this would be an ad where you're reaching out and trying to acquire new Facebook fans. Okay? These are searches that you can start with, so you can literally copy these search strings, enter your page where it says, and you can get this information on Facebook. It will give you tremendous amounts of information that you could start to use to target your ads differently and get more exposure to people that you wouldn't otherwise get exposed to. Okay? Now, use these wisely, though, right? So do some research, post content that appeals to those interests. You have to be creative, okay? Because obviously these lateral interests aren't going to be directly related to your business, so you have to be creative with it. And then promote the posts that you publish that have the highest engagement. And you can also do some split testing to discover the best approach, okay? Now, Marcus, go ahead. Marcus has a really great example here.
Yeah, so this is a great example and not so much that there's just a pro tip, but this cheat code that doesn't really get touched on a lot as Facebook is continuing to roll out graph search because it has not yet been rolled out to the entire world. But graph search really is a fantastic example of the type of data that Facebook has and the correlations that it can make that probably no other platform on earth can really make. The ability to connect people by interest and lateral interest is just huge. And it can have huge implications for your content strategy. So what we're showing here is an example of how you could leverage social rich media to house Instagram videos if you knew that your target base, in addition to your brand or the, a target interest that you were presenting, also liked Instagram. You can take that to mean anything else, though. Any type of significant lateral interest that you find, you can use that to guide the type of content that you actually create. And that creative would sit in every aspect of the post, and then at the deepest level of engagement inside of your social rich media post.
Brilliant. Okay, great. So now let's talk about the last one, using Facebook ads to do customer research, right? Customer research, your customers, okay? So imagine being able to see a living, breathing persona that represents your customer base. So in other words, imagine taking your CRM and dumping all the data out and then converting this into a living, breathing person, okay? And again, you can do this with this custom audience. So when we think about Facebook ads, we normally think, oh, we're going to buy an ad with money and push it out to people. But it's a tremendous research tool that's absolutely free. So we can take an email list, upload it into the Power Editor, like I described before, and then we can look at how many of our customers are actually connected to our Facebook page. Okay, so in this example, I think there are about 1,800 emails on this specific list, and I'm looking at that compared to Inbound Zombie. Okay, wow, not many people have liked the page. Maybe I need to come up with a solution to that. Okay, here's another example: active email subscribers who are female. So now I'm eliminating the factor of my Facebook page. The Facebook page is out of the equation at this point, okay? And we're looking at, uh, and again, I don't have the numbers on this list, but the calculation I had was over 75% are women, okay? So I can go to my email list, I can click women in the Facebook ad tool, and it will show me how many people are women. But it doesn't stop there. You can say, oh, well, of these women, half of them are married. Okay, half of our female customers are married, and half of those women who are married use an iPhone. These are just examples. You can combine any precise interests with these other criteria. You know, relationship status, do they have kids? There's so much information in Facebook ads. And when you combine that with your email list, you can get a lot of really interesting uh, information about your email list. And what are you going to do with that? That will help inform your content strategy, promotions that you have, and how you're marketing your business in a general sense. Because your email list, let's say your customer database, that's your customer database. You have to keep these people happy. If you don't keep these people happy, you're out of business. So the more you understand about what they like, what they're interested in, who they are, the better off you're going to be. And this tool is absolutely free, and of information to give you a lot of insight into who your customers are, your present customers, your current customers. Okay. Now Marcus has a great tip here.
Again, just continuing to use this information that you're gathering to guide the content, as well as using the various capabilities that social rich media has to extend it into votes or data collection forms to get more detailed information out. So again, extending the power of the information, insights, and targeting that you can get from Facebook as you deliver that content, extend that a little bit deeper into experiences you completely control, demonstrating your brand, placing content that makes sense for that particular segment, and then collecting more information to make your research more complete.
I love this example. I love this example because Norwegian Cruise Line, right? Who are they interested in? You might assume, oh, they're interested in just single people trying to meet people. They might make that assumption themselves. I have no idea. But maybe after some research, they discover to their amazement, whoa, we have lots of families. Okay, now we need to take this different approach. That's why I like this. There's a lot of thought behind it. You know. Um, the last piece here I want to just share is salt and pepper, and I'm not talking about these girls here, these women, these ladies. I'm talking about salt and pepper that we have on our table. And I usually, whenever I speak at a training session or a conference, I usually like to mention this idea. So a common mistake I see is that marketers feel that Facebook ads are going to save the day. They may have a lot of money and well, let's just dump a whole bunch of Facebook ads at this problem, okay? That is not a long-term solution. That's a short-term fix. The hardest thing to do is to understand your people, to understand what they really want. And that's where the hard work starts. Your content, your community, understanding them, having a smart strategy on Facebook that's integrated with email, events, other social media, a mobile, and then using Facebook ads to supplement what you're doing right. If you don't get the content and the community right, pushing out ads will pretty much be a waste of time. It'll be a waste of money because you're not going to get the result. If you do the hard work and really work on the content strategy and develop a thriving community, which does take a very long time, takes a lot of work, and have a smart strategy, then Facebook ads are really going to enhance that. It's like having a good meal and then you're just simply adding salt and pepper, right? You can't survive on salt and pepper alone. You have to have steak, potatoes, vegetarian, you have tofu, salad, whatever it might be. But you know, salt and pepper. This is the perspective slide. That's what this is. Salt and pepper. That's where Facebook ads fit in. Okay. Now here's a cheat sheet for later. You can look at this. Just shows you the difference between the various Facebook ads and what you can do and what you can't do with them. Now we're going to handle Q&A on Twitter. So Marcus, should I go onto Twitter now, or do you want to search it? I can jump out of this and just go onto Twitter and read it.
Yeah, I've got I've got a timeline up with the hashtag, and I want to start with the first question, which I think is the funniest. It just kind of shows either it's very witty, or it definitely shows the age disparity between some of our audience and you and I, John. So the first question from
What's a hashtag? What's a
uh,
hashtag, right?
a hashtag is Facebook ad tips.
No, I thought that
Uh,
was a question.
Oh, okay. No. They definitely know what the hashtag is, but the question they asked was, who were those people he just showed before this slide, which I thought was
Oh, Salt and Pepper. I mean, that's
yeah,
like a music, it's a band, I guess. Yeah.
yeah, and they haven't been around for a while, so there are definitely people who may not recognize that at all.
Yep. Obviously, somebody young asked that question,
Totally.
right?
Totally. Definitely somebody young. Okay, so
That's
we've got
funny.
a question here from Miss Kelsey O, and it's how do you find the lateral targets your community is talking about?
Oh, how do you find the lateral targets your community is talking about? You mean on your Facebook page? That's a good question. You kind of have to research the comments. Really, that's going to exist in the comments on the posts. You want to search Twitter as well. I mean, there's a lot of things you can do, but in the examples that I used, Facebook Graph will give you this information very quickly. Pages liked by people who like, and then the name of your Facebook page. You'll be often amazed. Wow, they like this topic or that topic. You could search for interest. You can look at men who like your Facebook page, women who like your Facebook page, and there are a few other examples that I outlined. The other thing you want to do is I think Twitter is probably one of the best search engines out there. So type in your brand, your the name of your brand, your competitors, do some research on there and find out how people are talking about you. That's the first thing to do. Um, that's really the foundation of social media. Social media is now like a two-way street. It's no longer one way, and this information is free. You don't even have to have a Twitter account. You can just go on a Twitter and search uh, just for your brand and different keywords and find out how are people talking about you. What are the other interests that they might have?
Great. We've got a question here from Allison N. At John Hayden, what's a good engagement rate benchmark? 7%, 8%?
Ah, the best engagement rate. I'm going to give you this answer right now. It's better than the one that you had last week. Okay, it's better than the percent you had last week. And I'm being kind of semi-serious. So if I said, Allison, let's say Allison's engagement rate right now is 5%, okay? And she might feel great about it because last week it was 3%, okay? And then all of a sudden I come along and say it's 15%. She's going to feel bad. What is she going to do with that bad feeling? She can't do too much with that bad feeling. She can only start where she's at right now and improve upon that. So the best engagement rate is better than what you've done. Okay, I've seen 2%, 15%. Typically, with a smaller page that has, say, less than 500 fans, you're going to see an engagement rate that's much higher because the page is fresh. People are aware of it. People are talking about it. There's excitement. So naturally, the engagement rate is going to be a lot higher. If you have something like Coca-Cola or Pepsi, which has existed forever on Facebook, the engagement rate is less than 0.01%. It's really not that high. So it really does depend upon the situation, but the answer is better than what you had last week.
Yeah, I think that's a great answer. I mean, as at Moontos, we work with several different verticals, and it's certainly true that a brand is not a brand is not a brand on Facebook. Celebrities clearly have great engagement by comparison to let's say a CPG brand, and I think everyone in the industry understands why. A celebrity is a brand that is actually a human being, and people feel like they can actually engage with, and that this social channel gives them an opportunity to potentially be heard by this person. A
Yep.
little bit different than a person who is either engaging with a brand for customer service or demonstrating affinity or trying to get information about a product. So it's definitely true that you need to kind of look at benchmarks relative to your brand in your industry, and maybe that's kind of the place to start. And then, as John said, as long as you're growing, then that's a good trend. If you're declining, then you need to kind of take a good hard look at some of your strategy and content approach.
Yeah, exactly. The image I always have in my mind is when you go to the gym, you have the treadmill. you do the treadmill or you do the bike or whatever it is, and especially on the, you see the screen, you can pick, I want to do hills, right? So hills train you. So if you look at your Facebook page and you go up and then all of a sudden you dip down, you fall on your face, and then you pick yourself up back up. The best Facebook pages are the ones that have that up and down, because that says that they're trying, they're failing, they're trying again, they're correcting, they're getting better, they're improving. That's the best kind of graph, the one that goes up and down, but generally up is where you want to eventually go.
Absolutely, absolutely. Not well, a question, but I think more of a request, and I think we can oblige it. Ryan Reynolds asked if we can go back to the cheat sheet slide. So I guess some people wanted to take some notes, so we can probably put that one back up. Great.
Hmm?
Let's see what else I can find here. Okay, another question from Allison. Do shares carry more weight compared to likes and comments?
Ah, I love this question. Yes, absolutely. Shares have much more weight in the newsfeed algorithm. And the reason why, when you think about it, makes sense. A like is a throwaway gesture. If I like something, I'm just trying to move on. Okay, I like that. I like this. It's really just the ultimate throwaway gesture. It's the ultimate. I can't say it any better than that. Now, a comment is kind of ego based. This is what I think. This is what I have to say. This is me. Okay. A share, on the other hand, is all my friends have to see this. It's deliberately sharing. Okay. Facebook users are kind of aware that when they like and comment on stuff, their friends are exposed to that, but they're definitely aware of it when they share something, because they're intentionally saying, all my friends have to see this. So Facebook's algorithm realizes this. So the more shares you have on a post, the further that's going to spread compared to if you just had a whole bunch of likes. And Facebook recognizes that in the newsfeed algorithm.
Absolutely. I mean, a share is really the ultimate form of endorsement. I mean, it means your content is so impactful to this person that they're willing to share it with their community, right? And put their face and their name next to that content. So anytime you're trending very very high in shares, you're doing a great job of creating the type of content that will perform very well on Facebook. So let's see. We've got a question here from Matthew O. How often should you promote a post? I guess that's point A of the question, and then part B, or use rich media on social. So John, if you take the how often should you promote, and then maybe I'll take the rich media question.
Yep. So you should only promote a post when you actually have a good performing post. Hopefully that's something that's consistent. And it does depend upon your budget. What I often recommend, and you can imagine I work with, nonprofits, so the budgets are a little bit limited, but I always say, listen, have some discretionary spending that your frontline person has the authority to spend. So the person who's actually posting on Facebook and replying to comments, give that person the authority to spend money, because when you see something starting to get some attention, likes, comments, and shares, is starting to go viral to some degree, you want to take advantage of that. You want to promote it as quickly as you can. I would recommend a weekly rhythm. I mean, if again, it does depend upon the budget, the budget constraint, but I would say consistency is the key.
Yes, I would say the same for using social rich media. Social rich media is a deeply engaging post type. So as opposed to much of the content that appears on the newsfeed, probably with the exception of video, your content is going to be in someone's hand while they're in the line at the grocery store, and they're just scrolling up and down the feed. Social rich media is a fully expanded experience that's designed to be interactive, and it's supposed to take some time. It's supposed to build some brand equity and get a little bit more deeper engagement and on many occasions collect information. It certainly is not something that you would do on a daily basis with your community, but the idea is to really inject social rich media at the right points of your campaign and do it strategically. So for many campaigns that leverage social rich media, they use it at the beginning to create awareness of the campaign. They may do it in the meat of the campaign, and that may be when a sale is actually happening, or when they're trying to live stream an event, or when a sweepstakes goes live, and then or a vote starts to happen, and then at the completion of the campaign, there may be some type of wrap-up experience, and social rich media can be very great for delivering that wrap-up experience as well.
Marcus, in the couple of examples you mentioned that you shared about the social rich media, it seems like a large part of it is email acquisition or collecting data. Is that fair
Yes.
to say?
So it's definitely a very powerful tactic for collecting data, and really in two instances. One, if you're trying to harvest data in the form of emails and phone numbers and so forth from people who have liked your page, because a like is still essentially anonymous, and you don't have access to that information on those people. Or if you're just trying to prospect, meaning you're not necessarily targeting existing customers, you're leveraging
Mhm.
Facebook's targeting capabilities to reach a marketing objective. And so
To
that's where you
acquire.
get a yes, exactly. So you're trying to acquire, and you're simply using Facebook because it's got fantastic targeting based on interests,
Mhm.
and because it's not about time and request, but it's about building brand equity and finding people
Mhm.
who may be interested in learning more about your products.
Yeah, and what I love about that is that one of the biggest problems that I deal with in the nonprofit world, and I'm sure the for-profit world is the same, is that it's really hard to actually, make money or get people to do a transaction on Facebook or social media. Like people just don't buy stuff on Facebook or Twitter, but they do in email. So email has a much higher conversion rate in terms of customers or new customers or repeat customers. The conversion, the wallets are coming out of the pockets in email. That's where people spend money. They don't do it so much on Facebook or Twitter, like I said before. So what you're talking about is almost, in some ways, it's almost like the bridge between Facebook, the wild world of Facebook, and then your customer base. How do you shepherd them? How do you move them along to become a customer?
Yeah, I mean, social rich media is a great tool for achieving goals across the entire consumer journey. Many of the
Mm.
goals that we're very successful at achieving for the marketers that we work with are upper funnel goals, right? And I don't want to get into too much marketing jargon here, but when I say upper funnel, what I mean are the things that precede someone actually pulling their wallet out to buy something, right?
Yeah.
So their awareness of a brand, their awareness of a product, their consideration of your product versus another product, or your
Yep.
service versus another service. Them raising their hand and saying, "Hey, I'd actually like to sign up for your email list to learn more." These are all the types of objectives that we find our brand clients having extreme success
Mm.
with the combination of Facebook and social rich media.
Yeah. I didn't want to go off topic, but I just thought it was a relevant comment.
So we've got one more question, and then we'll be at the top of the hour. So this is from Advisor. The question is: some sites give a set of times it is best to promote that when it's best to promote posts, early morning, midday. Is that right?
Actually, yes, it is right. So there is a lot of research out there that says post at this time, and HubSpot did some research. Buddy Media, who now was purchased by Salesforce, they did a lot of research on the best time, and both studies found morning and evening. So Facebook is really like the morning newspaper and the evening newspaper. That's when most people are on Facebook. But use your Facebook Insights. So in Insights, if you go to the posts report, it will say, it will tell you when your fans are online. It will say the time of day and even the days of the week when your fans are online. I would start there.
Great, great, thanks. Well, John, this has been a blast. I can tell it's been super informative for all the attendees, and great activity on Twitter. So thanks to
Oh,
everyone
beautiful.
who showed up and stayed with us for the duration of the webinar. And if you have any other questions, we'll continue to be on Twitter, obviously, so you can keep using that Facebook ad tips hashtag. And you can also continue to connect with either one of us on Twitter, again, at John Hayden or at Marcus Whitney. So, John,
Beautiful.
thanks so much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it, and I hope to do it again.
Excellent. Take care,
Bye,
everyone.
everybody.